Welcome back to Movie Reviewed Official. Imagine a world where the only thing more scarce than clean water is someone who knows how to drive safely. Seriously, it's like Fast and Furious, but in the apocalypse, with a lot more dirt, no family barbecues, and way more explosions. Introducing the post-apocalyptic wasteland, where gasoline is the new gold and wearing leather outfits with spikes is the height of fashion. Society has completely collapsed, probably because they ran out of Netflix and now everyone's basically a MadMax cosplayer, except they take it way too seriously. Max is a former cop who's lost everything. He's like that one friend who always has a tragic backstory, except Max doesn't post sad Instagram captions. He just drives, fights, and grunts his way through life. He starts off by getting captured by these pale, bald psychos called the War Boys. Think of them as a gang of hardcore auto mechanics who get way too high on engine fumes. They worship a villainous tyrant named Immortan Joe, a guy who wears a skull mask. Joe controls a citadel where he hoards all the water and struts around with his super creepy warlord vibes. But don't let the mask fool you. Underneath that breathing apparatus, I'm pretty sure he's just mad because he's got a dentist appointment he's been avoiding for decades. Max spends most of the first part being a human blood bag, literally strapped to a car like the hood ornament from hell, while someone uses him for a blood transfusion. Charlize Theron as Imperator Furiosa is the real MVP here. She's a one-armed, truck-driving warrior who's had enough of Joe's reign. She decides to take his 5 wives, who are basically enslaved women, and make a break for it to the Green Place, which is kind of like their version of Disneyland, but with plants. These women, by the way, look like they've been ripped out of a Vogue photo shoot, despite living in a world where people wash their faces with sand. Furiosa's plan? Drive straight across the desert in a massive truck called the War Rig, with about 1,000 war boys hot on their tail, led by Immortan Joe. The war boys are really into kamikaze attacks, screaming things like "Witness me," while spraying silver paint on their mouths and throwing themselves into explosions. They think about getting into Valhalla, think Viking heaven. Yes, there's actually a guy with a guitar that shoots flames. It's post-apocalyptic rock and roll baby. Along the way, Max joins Furiosa's team after he stops being a mobile blood donor, and they form a reluctant partnership. There's also Nux, played by Nicholas Hoult, one of the war boys, who starts off fanatically loyal to Joe, but ends up switching sides after realizing blowing himself up isn't the best career choice because, well, it's a desert, and there are only so many friends you can make out there who aren't completely bonkers. It's a classic, we don't trust each other, but we're in the same boat, or truck kind of deal. The entire movie is a one long car chase with action scenes that are insane. Cars flipping, massive sandstorms, trucks exploding, and motorcycles doing mid-air stunts. The vehicles look like they've been designed by a bunch of 12-year-olds with a junkyard and no rules. One of the standout moments is the polecats, war boys swinging around on these long poles attached to cars, trying to capture Furiosa's rig. It's like Cirque du Soleil, but with more fire and screaming. Oh, did I mention the sandstorm? Because of course there's a giant, terrifying sand tornado that ends cars flying like they're toys. Honestly, it feels like the weather in this world is just as mad as the people. After surviving more explosions than an 80s action movie, they arrive at their destination and meet up with the Vuvolini, Furiosa's old tribe of motorcycle-riding grandmas, but spoiler alert. The Green Place turns out to be a bust, just a swampy wasteland. Classic, the grass isn't greener on the other side moment, except here. There's literally no grass. So what do they decide to do? Go back to where they started, Immortan Joe's citadel, and take it over. Because why not? They've already driven all this way. Might as well drive back and overthrow a dictator while they're at it. The final epic battle is more explosions, more car wrecks, and Max throwing wrenches at people. Seriously, these two together are like peanut and jelly. If peanut butter could throw wrenches at people and jelly knew how to drive a truck like a maniac. Furiosa faces off with Immortan Joe, and in the most satisfying moment of the film, rips his mask off along with his face. Yeah, it's graphic. The surviving crew then heads back to the Citadel and takes control, freeing the people and finally giving them access to the water Joe had been hoarding. In the end, Max does what he does best, disappears into the wasteland without saying goodbye, because emotional connections aren't really his thing. He's a lone wolf, and you can practically hear him thinking, well, that was fun. Time to find a new desert to wander. Underneath all the explosions and insanity, there's actually some deeper stuff going on. The movie touches on themes of survival, redemption, and the fight for freedom. Plus, it's got a strong feminist angle with Furiosa and the wives taking control of their own destinies, which is awesome. And that's MadMax, Fury Road. It's a wild ride where the only rule is go faster and blow things up. Don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and let me know in the comments what your favorite crazy moment from the movie was. See you next time.